months. We having since the Istanbul meeting every month, we have an organization from different regions hosting a webinar in the different topics. So I would like just to recall what was the purpose and goal of this monthly thematic webinars. To advance its goals, Nyéléni ECA is organizing monthly online thematic dialogues aimed to fostering collaboration and identifying joint actions. This dialogue serves as a platform for exchanging knowledge, sharing best practices, and aligning strategies among diverse actors committed to food sovereignty and sustainable agriculture. The multiplication of knowledge will be made possible through the thematic exchange, as participants replicate experience in their own territories, develop methods of resistance, and enhance their resilience, while improving the ecological and cultural sustainability of their lives and work. Today, we have Alisa Foundation, who is hosting the thematic webinar of June month on the topic of community seed banks on farm conservation of agrobiodiversity. So I would please always remember that we have interpretation, try to talk slow and clear, and I would love to pass the floor to the moderator of today's session, Gardana Duri.
Thank you, Madina. Thank you, all of you, for being with us this day and share experience and discuss about important issue which we proposed for this webinar. Thank you, Nyéléni, for giving possibility us to present our view of this very important issue, and together with Frame of Life from Serbia and Ivana Radovic, also Anatoly Albin from Moldova. We will talk about different view of importance of community seed bank and on-farm management of plant genetic resources. And also we will have two opinions about and presentation or views about current regional e-school on paralegal school for farmers' rice and farmer seeds, Anna Kanshieva from FAO Budapest, FAO, and also Aida Yamangulova from ADI, which is hosting institution of this paralegal e-school. Today webinar is planned to give some frame and maybe discuss to open the floor to discuss about future regional cooperation on this topic on farm management of plant genetic resources. And in fact, the aim of this webinar is to highlight the role of community seed banks and on-farm management in preserving of our agrobiodiversity. And as I said, there we have three topics, three speakers, and two also speakers, but reflection from the current other our activities. The first plan was that Ivana start with the presentation, but when we check the both presentation, mine and her, she proposed that I start with my presentation, then she will continue, and Anatoly will after, and then we will have Anna Kanshieva and Aida Yamangulova with comments on current activities. So I will now share my screen and presentation. Just a minute. Share. And do you see? It's okay?
Yes.
Thank you. So I will talk about on-farm management and conservation of plant genetic resources in general, and also give some aspect and specific topic about perennial crops. I cannot I have some problem because I can't. I can't change. Yeah. I cannot.
I think maybe you can restart the presentation. Yes.
Yeah, if it's no problem, I will present by this way because I do not know.
It is very good like that, Gordana. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. So with the just remembering, although all of you here are more or less familiar with terms of way of conservation of genetic resources, in situ, ex situ, and on-farm conservation. But just to clarify importance of on-farm conservation, I put remembering what is in situ conservation and what is ex situ conservation. And in fact, in this table, you can see differences between three ways of models of conservation of genetic resources. Also, all genetic resources, not only plant genetic resources, but our focus is on plants, on plant genetic resources. In fact, on-farm conservation is also one type of in situ conservation, but specifically for cultivated crops, because in situ conservation is conservation of genetic resources in natural habitat. That means forest, wild areas, natural ecosystems. And in fact, main focus is protecting all wildness or wild plant species in nature, and is done mainly with scientists, conservationist governments. It's done mainly through protected areas, mainly wild species, and there is adaptation, evolution is in force because plants adapt in nature, in natural habitat. Ex situ conservation is opposite, and it's outside of natural habitat. It's in fact a long-term storage of genetic material for some future uses, which could be different, done by scientists, researchers, and could be also wild or cultivated samples. And the problem is, because there is no evolution adaptation, it is stored in static conservation. But on-farm conservation, in fact, is, I like term on-farm management, because on-farm conservation is only one part of managing of plant genetic resources on-farm in on-farm models. In fact, that is maintaining and using crop varieties in farmers or gardeners' fields where they grow and evolve under local condition. It's done by farmers, gardeners on farms, gardens in local communities, and mainly is focused on traditional crop varieties or land races in use, done by farmers, gardeners, communities, and mainly cultivated crops, but land races and traditional varieties. And what is the most important in this kind of conservation or management, plants evolve with farmer selection, and that is in fact main value of this way of managing of plant genetic resources. But all three approaches are important. No one can be used as alone or only one, and all of them are complement and all protect, in fact, biodiversity and ensuring food security. But because we are talking about farmers, farmer seeds, farmer rights, community seed bank, on-farm management of plant genetics resources, as I said, is conservation and sustainable use of crop varieties by farmers or gardeners in their own fields or garden using traditional farming practices. This is also very important, because on-farm management is always connected with traditional knowledge and practices, which are usually narrative, not written, and that is in fact one of the very important issue about what we should also take care, not only to use and to maintain, but also to write practices and knowledge about these crops. Key points is that this on-farm management is happening on farms, not in seed banks, involves local traditional crop varieties, and in fact maintain genetic diversity, letting crops to adapt to local conditions and to in fact include evolution and selection of the genetic material. Farmers and gardeners play an active role, and in fact, because I said that always all three ways of management should be connected and complement. By this way, farmers and gardeners have to be included in breeding and selection, and in fact participatory breeding approach is the most suitable approach for this this way of managing of plant genetic resources. But how farmers, gardeners and other seed savers are organized in managing of plant genetic resources? Do they stay alone or they are organized? So when we come to organizing of this job, we are coming to community seed bank as a model of plant genetic resources management. And in fact, we all know definition of community seed banks, that is local seed storage centers where farmers, gardeners, other seed savers can exchange, primarily save, and can share seeds to protect crop diversity and ensure seed and planting material available for the farmers firstly. It means that the same aim of community seed bank is as for on-farm managing, but in community seed bank we have more farmers organized group of farmers and gardeners, not only a lone farmer on his or her field. And in fact, this way of organization improves seed security and resilience in farming of the local community. So ex situ, in situ conservation is, as we mentioned it earlier, important for protecting biodiversity and ensuring food security, but on-farm conservation, on-farm management is important for protecting of food sovereignty, and that is third reason why this on-farm management is so important. And in fact, community seed bank is very connected with on-farm management plant genetic resources, and this strategy for both should be connected. Here you have, just because you will we will share this presentation. You can check this research paper from Bella 2021 about community seed bank and on-farm conservation. What is difference between gene bank, which are usually public gene bank or private seed companies, and community seed bank, and all differences here is listed. But what is the most relevant difference between gene banks and the community seed banks? In fact, are that gene banks are committed to the long-term conservation and granting access to wide range of users, while community seed banks aim to short-term conservation and use or easy availability of seeds for the aims of the community managing by community seed banks. In fact, these two ways, ex situ and on-farm conservation, together contribute to creating inclusive and integrated conservation strategy at national and regional levels, as it is implemented in some Western European countries, but in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, that is not so clear, and there is no so clear rule of community seed banks. Community seed banks are not so young. maybe about 40, before the 40 years, they emerged as, in fact, part of informal or farmer seed system. And community seed banks, in fact, are the main actors in keeping or stopping of loss of locally adapted varieties through development and collective seed system, farmer seed system. And last paper about on-farm conservation and community seed bank published by Bocci and other authors this year stressed the most of the studies that most studies and articles on community seed banks in fact refer to the experience from the global south, Africa, South Asia, Latin America, and in fact, comprehensive analysis of impact and role community seed banks in industrialized countries is still missing, such as what is America, Canada, or European Union. And in this paper, they also presented history of community seed bank only in Europe, but mainly in Western Europe or in European Union. And they also stressed through the project, Horizon Project Diversity Food, they did one survey. We participated in this survey. And in fact, they also mentioned it that this survey was able to map only a few experiences from Southeastern Europe. And if you're checking on Google or some other browser to look about community seed banks in other parts of the world, for example, for Asia, Nepal, India, Kyrgyzstan in some cases are mentioned, but not other countries. So in fact, here is the map of Let's Liberate Diversity European Coordination and members of Let's Liberate Diversity as a community seed bank in Europe, one of the oldest. And we also can see that eastern part of Europe and Central Asia are only Georgia is here, with Elkana included, and Alza Foundation from Bosnia and Herzegovina, but other countries are not mentioned here. And in this paper, you can check, you can see history of European, the oldest community seed bank, such that means Prospecies rara from Switzerland, and also Archenoa from Austria, and also Semirurali from Italia, if you are interested. But when we come to our region, Nyéléni, we can see that there are about 52, I think 52 countries as members of Nyéléni from Europe and Central Asia. And I make some analysis about different community seed bank and on-farm management in Western Europe, European Union, that means, and Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And in fact, in Eastern Europe, Central Asia focuses on preserving of traditional land races, agrobiodiversity, and ensuring food security in rural and subsistence communities, while in Western Europe, this community seed bank still preserve heritage varieties and are more integrated with environmental activism or organic movements or consumer-based networks. In our region, East and Central Asia is community-driven or supported by NGOs. And in Western Europe, European Union, it's a very strong focus on food sovereignty, anti-GMO movements, and supporting local food system. In Eastern and Central Asia region, we are often faced with weak legal frameworks and could have limited government support, and seed exchange or preservation may operate in legal gray areas, what we know, but the very important role has NGOs international, like Biodiversity International, GEF, UNDP, FAO, while in European Union, seed laws are more developed, very restrictive toward non-commercial seed use, and there is such progress by recognition conservation varieties and non-commercial seed sharing. And these community seed banks very closely work with academic institutions. Resources and infrastructure of this of community seed banks in two regions are also different because we are facing with limited budget and work on volunteer labor and local NGOs, and infrastructure may be minimal, while in European Union they are often digitally catalogized, networked and are part of wider agrobiodiversity efforts. And these three oldest community seed networks they have several very big horizon project where they participate. So they have stronger funding than eastern part and Central Asia. And about community involvement, in fact, in eastern part Central Asia, the movement is oriented to indigenous and traditional farming knowledge and cultural heritage and farming tradition, while in Europe, Union or Western Europe is emphasizing emphasizing consumer producers network, urban gardening, and some eco lifestyles, and are connected with permaculture, schools, community garden, and so. And regarding the networking, regional integration, in Western Europe, they are very well connected. As I mentioned it, Let's Liberate Diversity, SAFE Foundation, the cross-border exchange and seed saving events, seed festival, field testing are more common, while in our region, regional collaboration is increasing, but networks are less developed. And countries like Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Ukraine, Georgia, they developing national seed initiatives, but often remain isolated from other. So I will be very soon finished, just to stress importance of perennial and vegetatively propagated species, because in community seed banks we usually talking about seeds, and collecting of the seeds is each year, sowing and collecting. But in last time, especially with climate changes, there is in fact more stress on also arable perennial crops. That means perennial crops which are maintained by seeds, not only vegetatively, but mainly perennial crops propagate vegetatively by different parts. And when we come to this, the complexity of community seed bank and on-farm management is going bigger, because we propagate clonal live plants in vitro or in field. Costs are high, disease risk is also high, because there is virus accumulation. There is no adaptation and evolution, because we maintain clones, but we can we should be trained to see mutations, which also can be vegetatively fixed. And infrastructure is very specialized, and accessibility for community seed bank of this material is limited comparing with annual crops. So for the future, I maybe open discussion about perennial species, because they are coming to be considered more important, because of preservation of soil fertility, also farmers' economy and climate changes. And in fact, especially traditional varieties of fruits which should be maintained vegetatively and cannot be saved like seed in small space. They need a bigger place, adequate conditions, environment, and so, and also trained people. And in fact, we should, I think, develop a strategy for community seed bank conservation and participatory breeding of perennial crops, especially those that are maintained vegetatively, and in fact, to discuss about our community needs for further education, training, and support. that is all from me. Maybe I was longer than I planned. Sorry. Maybe it's good to keep time for discussion after all three presentations. What you think? Continue with the Ivana presentation, and we will discuss at the end if you agree. Okay. Please, Ivana, would you share your presentation? Ivana Radović is from Serbia, Frame of Life, Okvir života.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gordana, very much. I will just turn off my video of me because I have a little bit unstable network. I hope that you can hear me well. Do you see my presentation? In slideshow mode?
It's okay.
It's okay. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Gordana, for amazing presentation. It's very good to now continue with some technical things about community seed banks when we now know what's the difference between them and institutional ones. And now I will more discuss about reproductive isolation of traditional varieties. It is a problem for community seed banks who have a very large number of varieties. And usually community seed banks start with 10 or 20 varieties, but then they have like more 100 varieties, even more 1,000. And there is a huge problem how to maintain those varieties. First of all, we have to say that if some organization or person has a large variety collection, still it is not the seed bank. And if somebody is gardener, he's not automatically a seed saver. The motivation behind gardening can be to get to the harvest, the fruits that we use for nutrition, or to enjoy the process of gardening. But seed saver, his main aim is seed, not the material by itself. It's not just the way to get to the harvest, but the seed is in the focus. And seed bank has to first of all has to follow some rules in order to maintain this diversity and not to destroy a large number of varieties that they have in their seed bank. Every high quality seed bank has to deal with different things that should be done from time to time. One of them is variety identification and characterization. It can sound fancy words, but actually farmers do this all the time. They know to explain which variety is which one. They know the traits of the varieties. And also traditional varieties usually have problem with those tests because they lack uniformity. They are still distinctive and stable. We should always remember that. And we should be aware of their traits. If we know the traits of the variety, we can react if we see the variety is out of typical phenotype, and we can take measures to prevent things that are going on that are going in wrong direction. Seed quality, of course, viability and vitality of the seed. Farmers also did this all the time. They because community seed banks are usually short-term, like Gordana said, facilities for seed saving. Usually, that's not the problem. Also, seed health, absence, presence of diseases and pests, and of course, seed genetics. Somebody may say, but in the past, farmers didn't know all this and didn't do all this, and still they managed seeds. Yes, but in the past, we didn't have transfer of seeds all over the world. We didn't have Amazon where you can order seeds and they can be transported in your country from other continent. And now it's much more harder to work, especially regarding the seed health. Also, usually, at least in Serbia, farmers had 1 or 2 varieties of pepper, 1 or 2 varieties of tomato. Now you can find on the market hundreds of them. There are also hybrids who are entering into informal seed farming systems. So we need to take extra care in order to maintain the seed quality regarding all of this that is mentioned. We usually have the problem regarding the genetics of the seed is small amount of seeds. When you have small amount of seeds to grow and small number of plants, for example, you have only 5 seeds of tomatoes that you got from somebody in informal farmer system. What can happen is if the sample is too small, genetic drift can happen and a lot of traits can be lost because the population is too small. The extreme type of genetic drift is founder's effect, when the population that the seeds that you took are so little, and that they can actually give completely other population, and populations one variety can separate into several populations, which makes things more complicated. Of course, farmers did they use this founder's effect when selecting new varieties in the past, but now it gets more complicated with a larger number of varieties. Usually the question is how much plants we need to grow per variety in order to save genetics, all alleles that carry all the traits of one population. Some recommendations are 30 or 60 plants, depending is it cross-pollinated or open-pollinated, cross-pollinated or self-pollinated. And for some crops like corn, the recommendation is 100 plants. Regarding the vegetative reproduced plants, for example, for fruits, for potato and so on, it can be less, but we have problem with potato and garlic. You cannot keep the potato for 10 years, like you can keep tomato seed. So you have to, you need less repetitions per year, but you have to do it all the time. For fruits, Gordana will correct me if it's not true, but I think it's 3 to 5 fruit trees per variety in fruit collections. Larger number of seeds is needed when the variety is very diverse. If it's quite uniform, you can use less. And of course, you cannot just take the biggest and the nicest tomato from the plant. You need to take average fruits, and also you need to take from more flower trusses. So you will take one from one flower truss, another from another, so you can catch all these genetics inside the seed. How many seeds you have to keep in the seed bank? Some recommendations are 1,500 for self-pollinated species, for cross-pollinated species 3,000 seeds. This number may look a lot, but you can take from one tomato 50 seeds, or it's not so complicated to obtain this number, because if you have 30 plants and you take 3 to 5 fruits from each plant, this number doesn't look a lot. And it's very important to have this number if you have more than, for example, 200 varieties. Why? Because you need to monitor the seeds. You cannot multiply everything in 1 year. It means that you have to spread your resources and to manage the plants in a way that you always provide fresh seeds for your collection. And of course, community seed banks are not so rich in infrastructure, and they need to manage the time and resources really carefully. Of course, you need some seeds to do seed viability tests and to see what is the germination rate of the seeds. Germination rate means from, for example, 100 seeds, how many seeds germinate. If this number is less than 85%, it means that you have to take the urgent multiplication action in the next year. If for land races and wild crops relatives, if it is around the 70%, if it's okay, if you see the germination rate is 65 or 60, you need to take into consideration to multiply this variety. Our community seed banks, we usually use 100 seeds, and germination test is very easy to perform. I think every community seed bank should do it from time to time. You just place the wet sheet of towel or paper and place the 100 seeds and see after a few days how many seeds germinated. And it's very easy, very cheap, and you don't need much time, and it will save you a ton of time to multiply all those materials. Whenever you see the number of seeds is dropping, you also should do the multiplication. And but sometimes community seed banks have less. Sometimes they have 200 seeds, but if the germination is good, then you can save some extra time and stay with that number. Also, usually original seeds that you get from the farmer, you always keep 50 seeds of original variety in case anything happens during the multiplication. Also, if you share seeds, this is very common problem in community seed banks, because when people share seeds, they usually give 5, 10, 20 seeds, but in that case, you will not pass the whole genetic pool to the farmer. So it's very good to respect this critical number of 50 seeds that should be given to the farmer. Also, if you collect from the farmer the seeds, it's very bad to collect everything and to leave him small number of seeds. So you have to be extra careful to leave to the farmer the original amount of the seed that is needed to catch all this genetic diversity. How we actually isolate the varieties? First of all, it's always needed, even for self-pollinating species. Contamination can be detected visually. You see the seeds are not looking like typical seeds, but it can be also done more professionally on enzymatic or molecular level. But usually people, farmers have empirical experience in this field, so they can see that seed doesn't look normal. What also happens in community seed banks is that environmental factors can cause change in seed morphology. And for example, this bean that you see, which is yellow, it's actually brown. But if you sow it lately in the year, for example, in June or July, which happens sometimes, people are late because of the late frost and so on, it will not have enough time to get the full color. So seeds, yes, they are multiplied well, but the color is not developed due to environmental changes. And now we see sometimes people bring to us the corns. This is from website Apple Star, but people usually give us like, I have very cute corn with different seeds, colored seeds. That's not good. If you see this, it can mean that you have a lot of cross-pollination between varieties, and that you actually have problems. Of course, there are varieties who are like this. But if this happens with a variety that should be white or completely yellow, it means that something happened and you will discharge this seed. Of course, if you want to do reproductive isolation, you have to know the biology of the variety well. You have to also have good management of seed collection. You have to know when to multiply what. You have to have precise map of seed saving, because you want to separate the same species, the two varieties of the same species. You have to take care of anything that doesn't look typical. You have to do property variety labeling. It's a small thing, but a lot of things happen because people think they will remember what they did last year. And also to provide good conditions for plant growing and to, of course, prevent diseases and pests. We can use distance among varieties. This distance among varieties of the same species for common bean, it can be 6 meters. That's what's the distance that we use. But for example, the same genus Passeolus, but Passeolus coccineus, you need 150 meters. But for fava bean, the same family, Vitia faba, you need 800 meters distance. For tomato, it's 50 meters. For peppers, up to 500 meters. Usually the problem is that the gene for hot peppers is transferred very easily, and you have sweet peppers who become hot peppers because of it's clear sign that something happened with the problem with genetics. Wheat is not so problematic, but corn very problematic because it's wind pollinated and it's very prone to cross-pollination. You need at least 1 kilometer. And of course, for sunflower, pumpkins, Versicaceae, Apiaceae family, onions, you need a lot. 800 meters. You can use the geography of your place, for example, some hills, to use this natural barrier to prevent this. These natural isolation strips can be a hill, house, forest, but it can be also a variety. For example, when we collect the one corn variety, the advice from the farmers is always use the corn from the middle of the field, because outer parts of the field are probably cross-pollinated but by other corn varieties. You can also use artificial isolation strips like in this image, but it can be less invasive. Like this, for example, you use these small bags to cover the seed, so you prevent insects from coming, and you can use these isolation cages, but you can also do the technique of separation of growing one variety in the field and one in the greenhouse. So you can use different strategies, but you have to be really careful if you do this multiple variety growing in the season. You can use different years. You can use different timing of sowing. For example, you can sow one bean variety in May and one in July, but you have the risk, of course, for this July bean not to finish the vegetation process. So you have to know the biology of the species really well. And you can use hand pollination. It's the most difficult way, but you can do it for the most endangered varieties, like some varieties of pumpkin or for corn, because they are very subjected to cross-pollination between varieties. If you are interested, I can sometimes make even some instruction manual how we do it for pumpkins. So we have to transform gardener into seed saver. So we have to motivate people to do it, to see this as a mission, which is really important. We should encourage seed banks to go into these processes. Even if we say like germination test, identification of varieties, it doesn't have to be complicated. It's really simple to do it if you just have right questionnaires, right methodology. We have to always educate farmers on this and to establish good monitoring schemes and to follow how we multiply the seeds. You will see soon, if your community seed bank now has 50 varieties, this number will increase over the years very, very fast. So basically, I'm sorry if I spent more time that I planned to, but basically that's it, and I will be open for all your questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivana. Thank you, Ivana, for this really good, very specific technical presentation. And of course, it will be a lot of questions. You are on time. Thank you. And our next speaker is Anatoly Albin. He's a lawyer, and we are happy, really happy, because he is with us. Because seed is a very legal issue, and in fact, it's not so easy to have some lawyer in our community. So, Albin, thank you really very much for joining us and to be with us. He will talk about legal dimension of seed conservation and community seed bank. Please, Albin, floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Do you hear me well? Well, nice.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Gordana. So it's a pleasure and a privilege to me to be a speaker today, and amongst all the people and the organizers. So yeah, and you know, I thank you to Ivana as well for such a very detailed technical you know, presentation showing the complexity and the volume of the work which you know seed savers is doing are doing. And yeah, to switch to my presentation, I wanted to say that in fact, being a lawyer, you know, I was always, you know, in the polemic and discussions since the university, you know, with the professors talking about intellectual rights, talking about the right of people to genetical resources, you know, and especially for exclusive right to the genetical resources, you know. And I came my way to realize that the seed is not just a food and is not just reproduction resources. It's about it's also is a right. So it came in sometimes in the middle of the 2010s, when I realized that local market have a limited range of food, even in the peasant markets, where for a couple of the years we had no real possibility to pick up or to choose the food that we used to have, you know, in the past. And yeah, that's how I have noticed that we have to think really more in deep on this subject. And even now, this subject is quite more important. So how do we see the seeds, you know, like a system? Because yeah, legally speaking, is that we have to understand clear what are we talking about. And yeah, it's and seeds are very complex, which later I will describe that right to seed is the hard and core writing of the farmers and peasants' rights and in agriculture system at all, because then it became it provokes something like an effect of the snowball in the rights and in the economy as well. So being it just genetic resources, it's a food, it's a means of exchange, it's a capital, and the right, and that's why I like how we call the, you know, the the collection of the seeds and maintaining of the seeds in communities like seed of banks, and they are seeds banks. And since the agriculture have risen in our human history, the seeds have become a strategic survival activity, you know. And in case of disasters, outbreaks, and as I mentioned, you know, of the, you know, reduction of the diversity of the foods, seeds are absolutely important instrument to, you know, to fight. So being, you know, analyzing the origin of the right to seeds, so I have appealed to the quite modern, you know, theory and in law, is that right to seed is a natural right. And it's very important because, yeah, naturally it comes from nature. But when we talk about the specific rights, you know, rights given by the governments, they are artificial ones. So natural rights are those that are not depends on the law, customs, and belief on particular culture or government. It's a universal rights like a life, and which cannot be replied or restrained by the human activity or laws. So you know, to make a parallel and more bold, you know, is like when the anti-slavery movement appears into the Europe, this concept of the natural rights have become a central in European foundations. So, but it is still a central concept of the human rights. So, and we ended up, and still we are under the evolution. In 1948, we have Universal Declaration of Human Rights that asserts that rights are inalienable. So those rights are really natural one, and they cannot be restrained. So there must be a very, you know, hard and affirmative argument of restriction of it. So right to seeds is deeply profound and deeply rooted into the nature. Yeah, Medina, please, in the next one. So why, in this case, the community don't have to control those resources that belongs to it, they made them, because yeah, we know the effects of the excessive control of seeds forced by you know, really commercial intentions to protect intellectual property rights and to make sure the trade from one side is okay, but excessive this control is have made that not just diversity of food and genetic resources have dropped down dramatically. It's more profound effect. It is that it caused a significant discouragement and disempowerment within the communities. So we are facing now, I'm talking just like personally, as a Moldovan lawyer, that discouragement within within the small farmers and and peasants, and is really profound. That even they are doing that, they do not believe in that the fact that they are farming and preserving the seeds. This is those rights and the possibility. And of course, this is not just about about economy and the agriculture issue. It's resonates with fundamental principles of fairness and equality of underpinned natural rights. So, making the connection to the national rights, we have to point that it's not inalienable from the person activity. So, and next thing is that why it is snowball, like effect, is that it's not just about the food or genetic resources. It's about democracy. It's about how, on which level, people, farmers, peasants are involved in decision making. So, in nowadays, in a current climate crisis, adaptation measures are not enough. We have faced so the methods which were really fine and worked 10 years ago, now they are not viable. So having those higher temperatures for 3 or 5 years at a row, we have noticed that something is completely under the control. So and just one and specific adaptation measures in one sphere are not enough. So the threatened economic ecosystems and livelihoods worldwide became an evidence that incremental changes alone cannot counter those challenges. So a transformative approach is absolutely imperative, and the solution must be focused on the communities and the issues that are mostly effective during these crises, and revamping the agricultural system, the agricultural way of producing the food must be rethink and transform for all our future. Medina, please. Yeah. So that's why, without an immediate or operative defense of the natural right of society, it will disintegrate naturally. So we don't have to go far. So the crisis, war, the history of the humanity have been shown us a lot of times that if we are not take care about the right of society, of a community, we facing the great crises. So a lot of civilization have disappeared, a lot of countries, empires, and even systems have disappeared, and that's not a simple crisis. That's always a tragedy for humanity. So, and that's why recognizing the farmers' rights, farmers and peasants' right to seeds, as a different seed production, is a commitment to safeguard humanity's future. Why it is we have to make it bold? This is the different production system. I will point out in the next slide. But next one is that improving the autonomy of the communities in seed production is really important. It's about the empowering the communities. It's about farmers and peasants' rights, making them owners of those life and those way of life. So that's why in the as objectives, we can say that the right to seeds of farmers and peasants, it's related to the right of might. Right, it's related to the liberty of making something. It's related to the potential that farmers and peasants have to realize in a full and all possibilities, instead of the right to contract, which is about the business and commercial one. And this connection, international organizations and governments must ensure equitable policies that protect and support agroecology, as well as the farmers' access to seeds and on a large scale. So, and establishing the differentiated regulatory treatment for both and different systems, formal and informal, it's absolutely necessary, because they have to be treated differently and they can't be put it on the one way. So in this way, so in this whole relationship, the community seed banks play a vital role in safeguarding biodiversity and empowering farmers. This is how farmers and peasants control the resources. And yeah, it's okay. I can. Next one is the capacity building. Is that public awareness campaign, educational exchange program are crucial for to fostering the importance of the seed sovereignty as well. So the rights. So we have to have more dialogue. We have to have more advocacy. We have to have more infrastructure, more investments in the seed community banks, and in the interaction, of course, helping each other, exchanging the practices, but going to the deeper. That means also the engagement in the dialogue with the policymakers, researchers, and all inclusively litigations, because the rights never been taken so easily. They have to be defended and to be protected as well. This is also a cultural issue, locally specific issue, but we have to find a way to strengthening it. So when we, just to finalize, when we made some research and we made some report on seed banks and on international legal acts, so we have find that we have only one specific binding provision on international acts. It's Article 9 of International Treaty of Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, which is really important. So this is the that milestone, juridically talking, which we starting by interpreting it, starting to realize that a right to seed is a human right, which is very, very important, and state might have the obligations, once they sign, to respect it and to make it sure to be realized. And the next evolutionary step was the adoption of the UNDROP, United Nations Declaration on Peasant Rights. But due to the fact that this is not binding declaration, this is the source of the official, definitions, which provides a very clear definition of the right to seeds. So I would say here we have double strategic direction in seed in the seed rights protection. First of all is to develop the practices and inclusive legal practices of defending having the interpretation of Article 9 and UNDROP. And the second is to start thinking about the process how UNDROP can become the binding declaration in the future. And this is the great job that have to be done, because in order to be right effective, it has to be binding. It has to be, the parties in all those relationship must have the obligation to respect it. Otherwise, it will last longer. And I think in our global crisis, we have a quite reduced amount of time, because as someone said, in the end, it's everything okay with the nature. All the laws working. It's just a problem with our culture. So thank you very much. I think I was on time. In case if you have questions, of course, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you, Anatoly. Thank you a lot. We are 4 minutes longer, but it's not so high. It's very important. It is really important topic, and first time I really starts to think about natural rights. I know for that term, but we should use this term in the future. Thank you a lot. I would like now to invite Anna Kanshieva from FAO to give a reflection because our e-school, paralegal e-school, is very, very close to with topic with this webinar, and to give a reflection about this e-school and how we can continue combining what we heard today and what we will learn from e-school. Anna, please.
Thank you, Gordana, and thank you all the speakers. That was very, I mean, that's not my first time participating in the seed banks and seed related workshop, but it's always so much to learn from. So it's so, I know, so rich in information, so rich in detail, that I'm really happy for all the participants today. And including myself. So basically, maybe I would give it a bit of a regional perspective on this seed banks as part of the work that we're doing on this farmer seed system. So we've been working it for maybe half of a decade by now, and both the policy analysis that we did and the work in collaboration with the civil society organizations, many of which are here today, both this all kind of led us of understanding on these current challenges and in the regional context. And when I'm saying regional context, it's not really European Union where we are working and providing technical support, but the Balkan countries, Caucasus, Eastern Europe, Central Asia, and that's it. Yeah. So what we see is that, and what is our shared heritage is that we in this most of the countries we inherited this centralized seed collection done by Research Institute, collapsed, and it actually led to lack of seed security in most of our countries, and of course leading to risk to the food security. And as Anatoly already mentioned, we have this ratification of UPOV 91 quite widely, and the legislation that kind of many of the countries prioritize, not only but prioritize the seed industry, mostly at the expense of farmers' rights and traditional seed systems. Sometimes these at some countries the legislation leaves the farmer seed system in this so-called regulatory gray zone, and even though we kind of maintaining the status quo in gray zone, we might feel is beneficial, we still have some risks in that, and quite huge risks, and Anatoly also mentioned that. But the first is manipulation, that the government and the official the system, government system can do with the seed savers, and especially civil society organizations that support producers and seed savers networks, depending right on the political landscape in the country. And the second, it's actually maybe we haven't made that connection yet today, but the connection between the traditional knowledge and the seeds, right? So the failure to recognize the farmer seed system at the policy level, at least, and I'm not saying in the regulation, at the policy level, it leads to the lack of understanding, lack of recognition, lack of kind of instrumental working operational mechanism for access and benefit sharing. So we've heard today, seed is a resource, seed is a right, seed is also intangible heritage and all the knowledge around it. And this is again why it's so important, as Ivanka said, to conserve, but I would say like actively conserve, or as you prefer, Gordana, to manage the seeds on farm, because this only allows also to keeping this traditional knowledge, this intangible heritage that is connected with the with the seeds. So basically the seed banks, the farmer seed banks or seed libraries, as some like to call them, they are absolutely important also in this respect. And so based on these challenges and shared heritage, we focus on several directions as on our work in the region. And I just highlight those that are more relevant to today's topic. So basically, the already mentioned this policy e-school, which was born from the understanding that there is an imbalance between this formal seed system and farmer seed system, and that the civil society organization, they lack capacity. They do not have the clear understanding how to act and how to balance this their lack of power in the policy arena when they advocate for this farmer seeds. And I would leave, of course, all details for Aida on that, but also want to mention that in the Balkan sub-region, with Gordana and with the Vanka organization, we work mostly on the again strengthen the capacity and local stakeholders on conservation and the use of these genetic resources for food and agriculture, plant genetic resources, right, on farm. And the third, let's say, our kind of vision to the future, based also on how the policy school is proceeding, is that we really want to kind of work more on promoting and advocating for this understanding of seeds as tangible and intangible heritage. And that gives, that connects a lot of issues of preserving, of course, agrobiodiversity, food security, ensuring sustainable agricultural practices, meaning that a lot of convention, all three Rio conventions are here. And most of all, that's also because it's important to create the operational mechanism of benefit sharing for the farmers who were cultivating the seeds, keeping the seeds, safeguarding them, breeding them in a participatory mode, and basically are the owners and need to have not only the recognition from other farmers, but also from the world, from their countries, and from the, of course, from the policy, and depending on them whether they prefer to have the monetary benefits or other types of in forms of their strength and capacity, their training, the different forms of the other benefits. So this is our, let's say, view for the future that we see is also very important and very well connected to the topic of today. So I guess that's it. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer, but I would give the floor back to you, Gordana.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you a lot for being with us and supporting us for a long time and staying with us in the future. Yes, Aida, please, the floor is yours.
Да, добрый день. Я буду говорить на русском языке, поэтому прошу уже переключиться на канал перевода с русского на английский. Добрый день. Спасибо большое за приглашение, Гордана. Моя как раз сессия, мне кажется, гармонично укладывается в то, что было уже сказано до этого. Отличная презентация Иваны и Гордана ваша, то, что рассказали технические аспекты, да, и как раз те вопросы, те вызовы, которые вы указали, тоже присущи нашему региону. Меня зовут Аида, я из Кыргызстана, я представляю общественный фонд Агентства инициатив развития, и наша организация с 2015 года работает с сетью по сохранению семян овощных культур, сеть фермеров. С 2015 года, это получается около 10 лет, мы работаем с женщинами и больше по овощным культурам. И когда мы начинали, нам казалось как бы какой-то такой очень большой инновацией, скажем так, да, потому что на тот момент мы столкнулись с большими неприятием, скажем так, да, со стороны скажем, организаций, которые должны были бы нам помогать как фермерам. Так как наша страна была постсоветской страной, где регулирование шло очень централизованно, и работа с семенами велась только в официальных семенных хозяйствах. И когда мы начали эту инициативу по сохранению семян именно фермерами, вызвало очень большое недоверие. И нам было очень сложно доказать, что мы, фермеры, что наши женщины-фермеры имеют право и имеют не сколько права, имеют даже навыки и знания достаточные для того, чтобы сохранять семена и передавать следующему поколению. И в течение вот последних 10 лет мы как раз всегда сомневались, насколько мы соответствуем или не соответствуем нашему национальному законодательству. Мы пытались найти своих партнеров в стране, потом в Центральной Азии, потом мы искали наших партнеров и возможности получить опыт именно по работе на национальном уровне с законодательством вне нашего региона, вне нашей Центральной Азии, и пытались даже в Европу. И вот благодаря ФАО мы смогли вот получить для себя такую уникальную возможность пригласить международных экспертов, которые работают в области права, именно прав фермеров на семена, и организовать электронную школу по правам фермеров на семена. И эта школа работает не только для Кыргызстана, но и так получилось, что эта школа еще дает возможность нам объединить усилия и на уровне Центральной Азии, и на уровне Восточной Европы. Таким образом, это наша школа, называется электронная школа для параюристов, право фермеров на семена для обеспечения продовольствия и средств к существованию. Это школа для организации, которая работает в сфере фермерских семян в странах Восточной Европы и Центральной Азии. Был объявлен конкурс, и мы нашли очень много соратников, и к нам поступило около 27 заявок. Из 27 заявок мы смогли отобрать 23 участника. Это 12 стран: Босния, Герцеговина, Кыргызстан, Таджикистан, Узбекистан, Грузия, Сербия, Молдова, Турция, Северная Македония, Албания, Украина и Армения. 12 стран и 23 участника, которые принимают участие в нашей школе. Что дает нам эта школа и какие материалы, какие сессии она включает? Школа мы создали, так как это первая школа, пилотная, можно сказать, школа, она включает в себя 5 сессий основных. Это показывает, во-первых, что такое, мы начали разбирать, что такое фермерская система семян, в чем ее отличие от формальной системы семян, особенности и важность системы сохранения фермерских семян. Также мы прошлись по международным правовым инструментам, международным политическим основам и рассмотрели право семян через призму интеллектуальной собственности. На прошлой сессии мы рассмотрели доступ к генетическим ресурсам и справедливое и равноправное распределение выгод, возникающих в результате их использования. А также мы рассмотрели различные национальные регулирования семеноводства, фермерского семеноводства в Европейском Союзе, на примере Норвегии, Дании, Италии, а также в азиатских странах, на примере в Индии. И мне радостно, что сегодня мы охватили систему как раз семейных банков, потому что один из запросов наших участников как раз и было рассказать о семейных банках. Я вижу сегодня среди участников сегодняшнего мероприятия очень много и участников нашей электронной школы. Таким образом, у нас электронная школа разбита на 5 основных сессий. Каждая сессия у нас сопровождается потом посттренинговым тестом и домашним заданием. И мы надеемся, что к концу этой школы у нас получится возможность, что участники смогут сделать свою какую-то аналитическую домашнюю работу через призму тех материалов, которые они получили в рамках школы. Эти работы будут представлены уже Через неделю, 12 июня, мы начинаем уже рассматривать кейсы наших участников по фермерским семенным системам. И также 29 июня мы планируем, что уже будут окончательно подведены итоги нашей школы, и мы сможем уже пригласить, может быть, участников, спикеров из разных тоже участников, из разных международных организаций. Мы надеемся, может быть, наши спикеры тоже примут участие на презентации тех работ, которые подготовлены нашими участниками школы. Что мы хотим в конце еще получить? В конце семинара мы думаем, что у нас создастся команда единомышленников, которые будут обмениваться друг другом знаниями в области фермерского права на семена. Создадится такая команда, которая будет продвигать голос нашего региона, потому что, к сожалению, наш регион не всегда участвует. Я могу сказать о Центральной Азии, что в силу различных причин, может быть, нашего исторического опыта, только набирающий навык, мы только набираем навык участвовать в международных обсуждениях по вопросам семян. Мы сможем быть более, как бы, более visible, да? Заметными на уровне региона, и думаем, что наши голоса будут учтены, и также этот интерес будет в нашем регионе. Также мы хотим, конечно, улучшить и активировать работу с нашими государственными чиновниками, которые непосредственно принимают решения в этих вопросах. Мы без них никак не можем, поэтому одна из главных задач – это повышение потенциала и государственных чиновников, которые принимают решения в области прав на семена. Вот, и радостно, что сегодняшние тоже участники, я имею в виду Гордану и Анатолию, они тоже участвуют в нашей школе в качестве коучев. То есть это два эксперта, которые помогают нашим участникам проводить свои домашние работы, аналитические работы и представить представят свои работы, помогут нашим участникам представить свои работы в конце этой электронной школы. Вот, в принципе, все, что я хотела сказать, поэтому мы, как инициаторы этой школы, организаторы этой школы, нам тоже очень интересно, что из этого выйдет. Мы очень надеемся, что это только начало нашего пути, потому что мы уже сейчас чувствуем, что такие инициативы должны продолжаться. Я прошу прощения, если я заняла больше времени, да, Гордана? Я так поняла, что у меня нет времени. Да.
Thank you. Thank you, Aida. Yeah, it's interesting topic and we can discuss, but because of our interpreters, in fact, we have 4 minutes. If we could prolong 5 minutes, I kindly ask them to continue. If you accept to give the floor to participants to ask, there are some question and ask in chat. In chat, Alvina asked, for example, about just to see, sorry, about community bank does community bank preserve? I can you can see, does community seed banks preserve not only Asian traditional varieties but also modern cultivars developed by national breeders? And Anatoly already answered me also, it depends. Some countries, also in European Union, if they have regulation that for non-commercial or non-marketing, we had such cases presented in e-school, Denmark, Austria, France, and Italy, very specific cases, but usually community seed bank are oriented to locally. Locally could be also all commercial varieties. And also, Olcay asked Anna, how does FAO see the critics of peasants' organization on seeds as heritage of humanity? And if you maybe could answer, you can also read explanation. if seeds are declared the heritage of humanity, there is a risk this is also from Olcay comments, not from Anna. Corporation or Anna already answered it. I think this is from Olcay about heritage of humanity. Please, Anna, if you can read these comments and to give
excuse me, Gordana, it's Olcay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Sorry, Anna cannot see it because I sent it only to you as the facilitator, so I can just I can read it if you want.
Okay.
Yeah. So Anna, thank you so much. It was really so good to hear all your words regarding the peasants' rights, collective rights. But there's a discussion for many years that if seeds are declared as a heritage of humanity, the peasants' organizations globally just say that there's a risk that corporations and research institutions could claim equal right to access to peasant seed varieties without prior informed consent. And also traditional knowledge and genetic resources could be appropriated, patented, or used in breeding programs without, as you exactly said, benefit sharing. And so the term of heritage of humanity is a little bit risky because it can be co-opted to justify open access without accountability. So, and it can lead to biopiracy. So in this regard, we were always talking about collective rights because of that. It is because we just say use the treaty on plant genetic resources for food and agriculture, the Article 9, and also, as Anatoly very well mentioned, the UN drop. So I just would like to hear here, maybe just we can also discuss in the light of this, how does the FAO reconcile the use of the concept of seeds as the heritage of humanity with its obligation to respect, protect, and promote the collective rights of peasants and indigenous peoples over seeds, as mentioned in UN drop and the ITPG RFA. So it's a very critical issue. So I just would like to hear from you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Gordana. And thank you, everyone. Excellent webinar.
Thank you.
So thank you for the question, and I just think that this is, I mean, it's a huge question, and basically, first I would like to highlight that when I'm saying the heritage, intangible and intangible, I mean in some different things, right? So this is not about the heritage of the humanity, but this is the lack, and that's maybe more to the UNESCO and this part of the conventions and treaties that which do not consider the seeds and this associated knowledge. So when I was saying heritage, I meant that tangible and intangible heritage. What regards the heritage of the the position, I do not feel like responding from the NFAO position, because that's also depends on the like headquarters and various regional offices work. We have the regional program that supports smallholders. So we have two regional priority programs, one that supports smallholders and another that supports the sustainable management of natural resources. This issue that you are asking, and again, the seeds and the farmers' rights and this aspect is in between these two. So basically, where we see the leverage into, I don't know, let's say putting it the harmonization of the rights of the farmers and the use of their heritage, right? Which we consider, which we want to consider the common one, or we see that the leverage we see into building the capacity. So this is why, even though I'm less involved, I know that this regional priority program supports work on the UNDROP, and these issues are also discussed during the these meetings and regional and national ones. So it may be, I mean, we try to be contextualized and tailored to what is mostly, let's put it, beneficial for our region, for the countries that we support technically, meaning not European and having this. But again, I know that I haven't answered quite clearly your question, but because it's a huge one, and basically all our work is to some extent the answer every time they answer on that, and trying to really kind of put the balance in this power imbalance between the stakeholders of this process. So let me think. Let me give the floor back to Gordana with that.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Yes, yes, it's really complex issue, and we also should think about this intangible heritage, traditional knowledge about seed, but there is possibility legally to protect that easier than by farmers' rights, for example, by law on cultural heritage. And but we don't speak about that. I think we should take into account also this possibility. Maybe it's easier than by these agricultural and seed laws. Okay, so I do not see any hand raised, and we are 5 minutes after planned time. I would like to say big thanks to our interpreters, because it is not so easy topic, and they had to be very focused on what we were saying. Thank you all for participation, and thank you again, Olcay and Madina, to publish and promote this webinar series. And also I invite other organizations to offer some possibility. I would like to say hello to Kostas. I didn't mention our Balkan Seed Network, established last year, and we are really trying to make something similar to Western Europe, but I hope in the future we will work more and communicate more. So if you do not have any to add, I would like to greet you, say thanks, and see you on some other place soon, very soon. Have a nice June and summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gordana.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.